Hey everyone, this is Caron with Miranda Real Estate Group, and I am here with Vanessa Baer. She
Hi,
is a
everyone.
real estate, she's a real estate attorney in the area. And I thought I'd have Vanessa on to answer some questions that I get a lot from buyers and sellers on contracts, on title, on liability. So Vanessa here, I thought would be the expert to really tell us a little bit more and answer some of those questions. So hi, Vanessa. I'm sorry I cut you off earlier there.
Hi, Ann.
Hi. So I guess if you can share a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. So I own a law firm and title company on Saratoga Lake in Saratoga Springs. Nice. I've been here about 2 years. And before that, I was working for a large title company in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. It was very interesting to come up here and see the differences about how we handle things down here, down there and up here.
Right.
It's given me an interesting perspective, and I've been really happy to be back what I consider home, even though I'm about half an hour from Troy, where I grew up. And be working with all of the great agents in the area.
Right. Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks. Well, so if you want, we'll get right into it. One of the questions that comes up a lot from either buyers or sellers, and in fact, I was working with a seller last week, and he asked me, why do I need an attorney? Why should I have an attorney? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the main benefit of having an attorney assist with the process is not so much our legal knowledge, but the fact that we've worked with these files over and over and over again. We've seen the same pitfalls hundreds of times. And so we can help adjust that along the way, most notably through the attorney approval process. So unlike in Northern Virginia, where I practice, we have this attorney approval process up here where both the attorneys review the contract after it's been signed and make any suggested modifications. Right. And those suggested modifications come after seeing the same pitfalls happen with previous clients. So we can protect our clients in the future about mistakes we've seen happen in the past. Mm-hmm. For instance, if there's an inspection contingency, the current contract doesn't allow for mold to be found within that inspection contingency. And so that's one of the things we add in our attorney approval letters. And I happen to see mold on about half of my inspection reports. Sure. So it's a difference of, for a buyer, maybe several $1,000s of mold remediation that could be covered, by the seller versus them taking that on after purchasing. Right. So just kind of pitfalls like that we can control through the attorney approval process. We also oversee the title process. We make sure title's been ordered right away. When the title report comes back in, we can easily address any title issue. Well, usually easily address any title issues we see in the report, versus somebody who may not be used to looking at a title report and being able to discern, what needs to be done to get to closing. Finally, when we get closer to closing, we, make sure all of the numbers are correct on the file and draft the legal documents. And I think that's the most important thing when people are asking me, can they represent themselves? I don't know how they would easily, draft legal documents incident to closing, right. And make sure that the documents are filled out correctly and contain the correct information. Mm-hmm. At closing, we can easily explain each document that's being signed, but it's also important to think of what happens after closing. There's a lot that happens after closing. Some tax documents need to be filed. If there's any issues with recording, the attorneys are usually addressing those. And again, all of that is simple for us because we do it on such a wide scale. Right.
Great. All right. Thanks. Yeah, that's terrific. So now a buyer and seller go under contract, and now suddenly the buyer has a little bit of cold feet, buyer's remorse. What is the liability to the buyer and the seller if the deal falls apart?
Yeah, good question. And I see buyer's remorse a lot, and I've almost fallen into it myself on several occasions. So if a buyer is feeling buyer's remorse, the first thing I would advise them to do is call their attorney right away.
Mhm.
If they're not, if attorney approval process has not yet been completed, an attorney can easily cancel the contract in New York for any reason. No questions asked, deposit returned. So again, if that process hasn't been completed, the attorney can handle terminating the contract. If attorney approval is complete, then we would look to the contingencies in the contract, specifically the inspection contingency, which says if there's anything that costs more than $1,500 to fix, the buyer can terminate the contract.
Mhm.
Well, we know now, with the housing boom and inflation, it costs about $1,500 to just get a contract to your front door, a contractor to your front door.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost much to hit that $1,500 threshold.
Yep.
And so that would be the next thing we'd look to if a buyer wanted out of a contract. Then, of course, there's the mortgage contingency if they're declined financing. But let's say all contingencies are satisfied, they want to pull out of the contract. A lot of buyers think that they're just giving up their earnest money deposit. So let's say the buyer put down $3,000 and they want out of the contract. Many think that they're going to be out $3,000.
Mhm.
The reality is that they could be out much, much more than that. If the seller were to sue the buyer for breach of contract, they could be out that $3,000,
Mhm.
as well as attorney fees, seller's carrying costs, mortgage, insurance, taxes, until the seller can sell the property again. And actually, they're liable for the difference in cost between what the seller was able to get in the contract that the buyer's pulling out of versus what the seller will get for their house the next time around.
Mhm.
So if the buyer were under contract for $300,000 and the next time around, they're only able to get $280,000 for their house, that buyer is actually liable for the difference of $20,000 in addition to all of the other items. Then I get the question, what about seller's remorse? Seller's remorse happens too. Usually it's not remorse per se, but there's usually like a change of circumstances where a seller is selling their house to move and then suddenly they don't have to move anymore.
Right. Right.
In that case, if the buyer were to sue, a judge could actually force the seller to sell his home to the buyer. And that's because a house is considered to be a unique good. So one that maybe money can't compensate for. So there's always the risk that if it went to court, the buyer could force the seller to sell their house to the buyer.
Right. Good information, right? I mean, people need to know these things.
It is.
So another question I get also is title, right? What is it and why is that so important?
Yeah, good question. So when we're talking about title and when we say we're waiting on title or we've ordered title, we're actually talking about two different things. The first thing we're talking about is the title search, which the title search involves a searcher actually going to the county clerk's office and searching the land records for anything that's ever been recorded incident to that property or that purchaser and seller. So they're looking for judgments and liens and mortgages and deeds, surveys, anything that's ever been filed. And they basically just assemble those documents into a search and, chronologically. Okay. And then they send that search to the title company. And when the title company receives that search, then the title company is faced with reviewing that search and taking the information in that search and drafting it into a title report that's easy for those of us in our industry to read and easily determine what the title issues are and which title issues need to be resolved prior to closing. Okay. So it's two steps. The search comes in and then the title company reviews that search and drafts it into a report. I would say, during the pandemic, it took maybe like 3 to 4 weeks for the searches to come in. And everybody was just backed up. The county courthouses were closed, the clerk's offices were limiting their hours. And so it was very hard for the searchers to come in. Then we had a lot more houses on the market to do the searches for.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to see everything come back to normal.
Good.
The searches are maybe taking, 1 to 2 weeks to come in. Then, it takes our company about 24 to 48 hours to review those searches and form our report.
Okay, good. So that's good to know that things have sped up a little bit, because that could be almost the entire contract period, really. The transaction time frame could be taken.
That's right.
Right. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for that great information, Vanessa. Really appreciate the time and that you did this video with me. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do this again. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, I'd be happy to help. You can reach me at 305-283-7233, or you can message me. And Vanessa, how can they contact you if they're looking for a great real estate attorney?
Yeah, I can be reached at 518-577-2290. I'm here on Saratoga Lake, 1412 Route 9P. And so I hope to meet some of you.
Great. Thanks again. And this is Caron with Miranda Real Estate Group, and have a great day.